Welcome back to Prep Recruiting Insider. You have found PRI in the National Signing Day Special, the day that all those other recruiting days are all about. I'm the head coach of PRI, Rick Gailey, along with the Prep Recruiting Insider, Renee Nato, and we're going to take a look at LSU signees and Tulane signees, starting with some of the players that are already enrolled on campus at Louisiana State University. And we're going to start right at the top with Austin Deculus.
Austin Deculus is a guy, 6'6", 335. He squats 600 pounds. Think of Andrew Whitworth. He's got a lot of the same skills and a lot of the same body type as Andrew Whitworth, and he's a left tackle. So we don't know how good he'll be, but I'll tell you what, right now, the best comparison I'll give you is Austin Deculus. A couple of safeties in that group. Excuse me. Jacoby Stevens out of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a five-star number one safety in the nation, is a Jamal Adams type of guy. Maybe a little bit of Eric Reed in him as well. He's a guy that can play next year. And Grant Delpit also is on campus, 6'4", 181. Great range for Delpit. Locates the ball very quickly. So those two safeties, Rick, are guys that can play immediately because of the need and because of their skill set. Okay. And Deculus is going to be in that tackle rotation next year as a freshman.
As we get ready to go to the next screen, there's another player there that is enrolled, and that is Justin Thomas. But then a couple of other ones that are really interesting, Renee, as we go to the second page.
You know, there's a lot of guys. Carter as a fullback should be really, really good. Seth Stewart is 6'8", 320, a big tackle. And you know, there's a couple of guys that certainly are big adds to this class.
And I'm looking at John Trey Kirkland in that list and how Matt Canada is going to use his talent in the new LSU type of attack, because we've seen Kirkland several times and he is really explosive. Another one of the quarterbacks on the list, highlight the next page. We have Miles Brennan heading up that particular list, a record-setting quarterback from St. Stanislaus, the Rocketchaws.
And Miles Brennan is a guy, he really excelled at the All-Star circuit, helped himself a lot. He's, you know, in the top 5 to 6 quarterbacks in the country. He will redshirt, get bigger, stronger. He's 6'4", 190 right now, but he'll redshirt and absorb that Matt Canada offense, and he'll be a go for the 2018 season. But he can be a special guy, can make all the throws. And he's just one of a couple of guys. Also, Noel Larcisse is on campus right now. Super leadership, a dual threat guy, had 2 knee surgeries, but no quit in Narcisse, and he certainly will be get a lot of opportunities this spring.
And you're looking on that list there of Aaron Moffitt, son of the strength coach at LSU. So I think it's safe to say that he's going to be a pretty strong recruit.
Yeah, he's got a hot motor, 110% effort. Aaron Moffitt is 6'4", 255. His dad, Tommy, is the strength coach for the LSU Tigers, and Aaron is certainly apple don't fall far from the tree. As he is a go-getter. He can add some weight and play as a defensive tackle, or can be an edge rusher.
And as we get ready to turn the page, a late commit to LSU, but a big get, Renee, when you look at Racy McMath coming from Edna Carr. He's the type of receiver that LSU can really use.
And Racy McMath is a guy, a big physical guy, and he's 6'3", 215, worked real hard to cut down his 40-yard dash time. He's a 4.46 guy, 200 meters. Worked on his blocking, which is going to get him on the field. Jacob Phillips, that's that linebacker that everybody was talking about. He's an inside linebacker. He'll be a good one. Downhill tackler, very violent inside guy. He's in the mold of a Brady James or a Kevin Mintor, but he's a guy that certainly can see the field in 2017 as a true freshman.
And when you look at that list, you're looking at schools from Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, everywhere. LSU has really expanded their recruiting efforts this year.
They really have, and one reason is Louisiana was not as deep in the highly recruited 4- or 5-star players, so they had to go outside to get the type of players they wanted. And sometimes, Rick, you know, even our guys rated very highly, academics comes into it, so that's another reason why LSU had to go outside. Todd Harris is a guy that out of Plaquemine, maybe the best safety in the state. He's going to go there, and LSU is stacked with safeties for the next few years. Tyler Shelvin is a guy that He's 6'3". He's played as high as 380. I think he eats cereal out of satellite dish. He's a big guy. But he'll play about 330, and he'll play for the best defensive tackle coach in the country in Pete Jenkins. So Pete Jenkins will have Tyler Shelvin ready to go. He'll be a nose tackle, and he'll split time with Edwin Alexander and Greg Gilmore next year, who will be a senior. So that'll be a great rotation for the Tigers for nose tackles.
Absolutely. And the late signee, Cleveland Chasson, really got that class capped off.
Chasson is a really good add, a linebacker, and they added 4 linebackers in this class. Rick and Chasson is a guy that's going to come in and play. 6'4", 225. He's a defensive end, but he'll play outside linebacker. Great rush. He's a relentless outside rusher. Great motor, and is a good tackler as well. He's a smaller version of an Arden Key, and I don't want you to think, oh wow, Arden Key. He flashes some Arden Key type skills. 6'4", 225 frame, kind of Arden Key. If you remember when he landed on campus, was about the same size.
Now let's look at Tulane's list. Tulane did an excellent job, like every school in America did today. Starts out with Jonathan Banks.
Jonathan Banks, it may be his position to lose. 6'3", 225-pound junior college guy, dual threat, live arm. He's going to get all the reps in the spring as much as possible. He began his career at Kansas State, and the coaches are very excited about his presence.
And he's already enrolled at Tulane. Next page, Michael Scott, a defensive end from Tallahassee.
And this is a guy that a lot of people wanted. He had lots of schools in options looking at him. He's ready to come in. He's got great linebacker skills. And let me tell you something about this class that Willie Fritz has, Rick. They beat the likes of the Californias and the Illinois and the Missouris and the Georgia Techs, and schools that Tulane has not beaten before. So they're beating the kind of schools that they need to compete with, but they're beating them for commitments and for signees. And when they raise the bar a little bit and start going at that type of athlete, that means the program is getting better.
And we're going to have on the next page Kevin Leday, a big wide receiver from Texas.
Houston, Texas. He'll go up and get the ball. Good routes, and he's got some length. 6'5", 183, and he's got some good hands. And that's a guy that, you know, he's a great red zone option, and Leday may see the field sooner rather than later.
Then Will Wallace is coming up on the next screen, a tight end, 6'4"ish from Natchez, Mississippi.
And Will Wallace is a guy, he'll play defensive end, 6'5", 240. He had a lot of looks from SEC schools. Great potential as a pass rusher. And, you know, a couple of guys that Tulane got signatures from is a couple local guys. Cameron Jackal out of Shaw, 4-point GPA, 3.8, 6'5", 300. They will put him at left tackle and leave him there. He doesn't repeat the same mistake twice. And Corey Dublin out of Jesuit High School, 6'4", 290, is the state wrestling champion from last year. He's the #1 prospect, #1 wrestler in the state right now in that classification. He can play guard or center. Very, very smart. Corey Dublin and Cameron Jackal are 2 guys locally that Tulane brought in that could certainly help next year.
And that gives you a good look at the signing classes for LSU and Tulane. When we come back, you're going to see some interviews with some of those very players. This is a National Signing Day special, PRI.